I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Oh, it gets me every time. It is another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Welcome in, kiddos. How is everyone on this Wednesday? The Daily Puck Drop, we go live every single day at 10 a.m. Doesn't matter if you're watching, listening live, or later. It all counts. There's no bonus to it, I'll tell you that. We are broadcasting, as we always do, inside the Limback Lumber Studios. Big thanks to Limback Lumber being the proud sponsor of this wonderful studio, which is just my office off the main room. Limback Lumber, if you have any contract needs, lumber needs, they're going to take care of you. Whether you're just going to build your own deck, which I cannot do, or if you're a small contractor, they're going to take care of you. They offer free deliveries. Let me repeat that. They offer free deliveries, everything from a whole house package to homeowner do-it-yourself projects. They're going to take care of you. Why? Because they've been doing business since 1930. Why not trust a company that's been doing business since 1930 than any other company out there for your lumber needs? Pick up the telephone, give them a call, 206-782-3487. You can visit their website, limbacklumber.com. You can visit me on all the social media platforms if you would like to. Puck Sports on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. On TikTok, where we put up all of our viral clips, Puck_sports. And you can, of course, find us on Facebook and up at pucksports.com, where you can become a full member of the Pucks Posse. You get full access to all the shows, and it directly supports pucksports.com, just $5 a month. Any issues with that, send me an email, please, puck@pucksports.com. Coming up on the show today, jam-packed as it always is on a Wednesday. You won't hear off the top of the show Jim Moore, because he's golfing. But you will hear from him in about 7 or 8 minutes, because we do have another edition of the Old Crimson podcast, which is brought to you by Flat Stick Pub with myself, Jim Moore, and Paul Sorensen, All-American safety, former All-American safety at Washington State. We talk Cougar football every single Wednesday. You'll have that. You get to see Jim drink a couple of Bloody Marias, so that's fun. And see him pick and move to a new broadcast location like 3 different times. Also coming up on the show today, it's a Wednesday. That means our good friend Ryan Divish is back from the Seattle Times, our MLB Insider. He is brought to you by Chalet Bowl. We'll talk to Divish as well today. As always, a reminder with Divish, we catch up with him early in the morning. The full episode of Divish, both video and audio, is only available for Pucks Posse members. So if you want to get the full Divish experience, you got to sign up at pucksports.com. Or if you are watching the show right now, that QR code, you click on that, will take you to the Puck Sports Posse page. We do give you, though, a little sneak peek of Divish every single Wednesday. And, of course, we'll do that coming up later today. Rob Staton stops on by for his weekly visit. It was great to catch up with Rob. He was in town last week because he caught the Seahawks and Niners game. We'll talk to Rob Staton coming up at 11 o'clock, get his Week 1 thoughts of how the Seahawks performed against San Francisco. Week 2 preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a great matchup. I said this to Danny Kelly yesterday, and I'm going to bring it up to Rob. In case you missed yesterday's show, you missed our feature there with Danny Kelly from The Ringer every Tuesday, by the way. I have a great strategy, a great idea for the Seahawks. And I hope McDonald's listening right now. Take Devin Witherspoon and match him up against DK all game. And then just tell Devin Witherspoon to hit him on every play and talk so much shit to him on every single play. And I'm not one of these fans, Seahawks fans, that dislike DK Metcalf. I didn't want to trade DK Metcalf. I love DK Metcalf. But we all know what gets under his skin. And what gets under his skin is people hitting him and talking shit to him. So San Francisco did this all the time against him. Put Witherspoon and have Witherspoon shadow him wherever he goes and just keep punching him and in his ear all game long. And my money is on that DK at some point is going to snap and do something stupid and either get a penalty or thrown out of the game. Agitate him. It's what San Francisco did. It was their number one storyline. I have a clip of it later that we talked about that with Danny. I'm going to play it for Rob coming up when he joins us. And, of course, we always end every single show with Hey, What the Puck? And Hey, What the Puck will take us to college football. And what a disaster for one particular reporter in college football of news that came out yesterday. But we got to start with the Los Marineros. You know how much I love this guy? As we show you a picture on the video stream of Josh Naylor. You know how much I love this guy? You know how much I think Josh Naylor is my spirit animal? If I could be anyone in professional sports, I'd be Josh Naylor. I want to look like Josh Naylor. I want to play like Josh Naylor. I want to sound like Josh Naylor. All of it. I want the whole Josh Naylor experience. The picture I'm showing, what a great picture. That was taken by Lindsay, I think Lindsay Watson. Hopefully, Lindsay, I'm pronouncing the last name correct. Lindsay Watson of the AP took some great photos last night of Josh Naylor. Oh, God, I love Josh Naylor so much. Oh, my God. 5 years, $100 million. You hear that, Jude? 5 years, $100 million. Sign him now. And everyone's like, well, it's not going to take that much. Christian Walker was 3 years, 60. Christian Walker's 34 years old. This guy's 28. It's the same amount per year. 5 years, $100 million. Do you hear what he said after the game? I love it here. I love hitting here. I love playing here. His numbers are through the roof here. When's the last time a Mariners player has ever said, I like hitting here? No one ever says that he likes to hit here. Just backed up the Brinks truck right now and sign him. I have always been enamored with Josh Naylor. I've always loved him. Always thought he'd be a perfect fit here. And he just, the bat throw yesterday, how he had a huge hit in the Monday night game. I'm blown away about how good he is on defense. I never expected that. His base running is unbelievable. His ability to steal bases, how smart he is. Monday night, he just catches these guys falling asleep at the wheel when he's at second base. Pitchers not paying attention to him. I really think that's the downfall of pitchers in today's game right now. They don't pay attention to anyone on the bases. They don't. No one does anything. And I know the rules and forces you not to be able to throw over there as much as you possibly can. But you can still look over there and fake like you're going to throw. And he swipes third. Then Polanco has the sac fly. Boom. That's just a huge run there. Such smart baseball. But it's Naylor's passion and his fiery nature, how he reacted after the home run. You've seen the viral videos of, back when he was with Cleveland, losing his mind after I think it was a home run or big hit, throwing his bat. I mean, that's the guy this organization has desperately needed for so long. And they've got him. Don't let this guy leave. This would be one of the biggest mistakes if this organization allowed him to walk out. Please don't let him walk out. But huge win last night for the Mariners, 4-2. Rosarina with the huge home run. Naylor solo shot. Bullpen with Ferguson and Bizzardo and Spire and Brash and Munoz. Brash last night, and Munoz. Brash last night was disgusting. That changeup he kept throwing, and it was just a tremendous. I mean, you want to talk about just baseball porn. Dave Valley did a great job last night of describing that the changeup that Brash throws and how back in his day it was very, very reminiscent of the circle change, reminiscent of what the screwball was and the movement of it. Valley was great last night in just describing that pitch, but it was just he was disgustingly good last night, was Matt Brash. And when he's on like that, damn it, he is hard to hit. Robles is back. They're 4-0 since Victor Robles has come back. Today, as they finish up their series with St. Louis, Logan Gilbert against Michael McGreevy. Rangers are game and a half back. They've got Merrill Kelly going against Freddie Peralta today as they conclude their series. Rangers ain't going away. They just keep winning games for some reason, despite all the injuries they've got. So great pitching matchup there with Peralta against Merrill Kelly. Astros, who lost yesterday in extra innings to the Blue Jays. Thank you, Toronto. They're going Jason Alexander, Houston against Jose Barrios. And Luis Garcia, who left the game yesterday. So, again, for the Astros, an organization that's been dealing with a bunch of injuries, especially their pitching staff, dealing with another one there yesterday. So, the Mariners, what a difference. And Divish and I talk about this on this week's show. It's just amazing what a difference a week makes. Last week, people wanted Dan Wilson fired, out of town, get rid of him. The playoffs are slipping away. The division's over. All of it. It was doom and gloom a week ago. And that's the beauty of this sport because it's played every single day. 1 week, all of a sudden, you're right back in it. 1 game back. Houston dealing with another injury. You're playing great baseball. Now they got to finish it here against St. Louis. And then a pesky Angels team. And Divish is right. This is a team they don't generally play well against for some weird reason. But take care of business. And then it's on because the season will come down to their next road trip. As everyone knows, as they finish up against the Angels. It's there. The season is determined Tuesday, September 16th through Sunday, September 21st. That's your season right there. On the road against the Royals and the Astros. But 1 game back, 1 pen to go. 1 pen, Rodney. It's all we need is 1 pen. So the Mariners will try and get another victory today against the Cardinals. And come on, Josh. Just Stanton. What does it take? Just give him something. Give him whatever he wants. He hits here. You don't have a first baseman. He loves it here. Just 5 years, 100. Bargain. It's a bargain for Josh Naylor. All right, coming up later, before we get to the Old Crimson podcast, a couple of other news and notes before we get there. Speaking of college football, Pac-12 and Mountain West lawsuit. We talked about this yesterday with Canzano when he was on. Right after the top of the podcast. Go back and you can watch and listen to it on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. A judge did decline the ruling on the Mountain West motion to dismiss the $55 million poaching penalty. Some of you out there may be confused what's going on. Well, this could signal now a victory for the Pac-12, because if the judge didn't rule to dismiss, then the Pac-12 would have been on the hook for $55 million. So the fact that the judge is delaying, probably it seems like, and John said this yesterday, if that is the outcome, then it means that maybe legal experts would cite in the favor of the Pac-12 on that one. And thus, if that doesn't happen and they don't get the $55 million for the Mountain West, then we'll see what happens with that conference. I don't know, because they probably they're dependent on that money to pay some of their teams, and specifically to pay UNLV. All right, coming up on the show today, again, as we mentioned, coming up next, Old Crimson podcast. Myself, Paul Sorensen, Jim Moore, sit back here for the next 25 minutes or so. We talk Cougar football. We react to what a difference from week 1 to week 2 looked. Also coming up later after the Old Crimson podcast, you're going to hear from our MLB Insider Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times. And then we talk Seahawks football with Rob Staton from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. But first, Cougs look good against San Diego State. They're 2-0. Jimmy Rogers, 2-0. First coach since Mike Price back in 1989. This week's Old Crimson podcast with myself, Jim Moore, and Paul Sorensen. If it's fun you desire, it's fun you're going to get at Flat Stick Pub. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, whether it's date night, guys night, ladies night, or large group event, Flat Stick Pub's got you covered. They have 6 great locations across the Pacific Northwest, from Pioneer Square to Kirkland, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. All locations offer the best pub experience in Washington. 2 rules at Flat Stick Pub: drink local and have fun. Pretty simple. So if you like to have fun, love local beer, and great tasting food, make Flat Stick Pub your next spot. Visit them at flatstickpub.com. Thank you, Flat Stick. Flat Stick Pub brings you in another edition of the Old Crimson, which is brought to you by Flat Stick Pub. Cougar owned and operated. They've got 6 amazing locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. They've got you covered for date night, guys night, ladies night, large group events. Let them take care of you with large group events there at Flat Stick Pub. Great place for the kids. Great place to watch and celebrate the Cougs. FlatStickPub.com. Joining me every week, Paul Sorensen. You see him there. All-American safety at Washington State. And Jim Moore, I think, will be here at some point.
Is he lost?
But apparently he's playing golf right now, and then he had to go get himself he had to go get himself a Bloody Maria. But he's on time as usual, which is always late. But of course, well, you're late. We start at 9.
9:01. Come on.
Well, we started.
There he is.
But remember, we couldn't. This edition of the Old Crimson podcast will be probably abbreviated for Jim because he couldn't quite fit us into his busy schedule of playing golf. Even though he says, I'll be available to do it, no problem. But hey,
I didn't say no problem. I said I'd be available.
And then we give him
5 balls on the range because I'm so devoted to Old Crimson and being with you guys. And I know how valuable my insight is because I know
you don't need to waste your good shots on the driving range. Save them for the golf course, man. Come on.
God, this is perfect. I can hardly hear Sorensen, so that's even better than usual.
Yeah, and I know. Go ahead.
Hey, what happened to Puck the Huskies?
Well, I'm going to bring it back if this show continues to go off the rails. I'll tell you that.
What happened with Elise and Jordan? Did Jordan have a 10th kid?
At least they were on time and were always available.
Did Jordan have a 10th kid?
That's what I like about him. All right, what a difference a week makes. 36-13. Paul Sorensen, the win over San Diego State. Jimmy Rogers, 2-0. First time a coach has been 2-0 since Mike Price back in 1989. Your opening thoughts? What did you see from week 1 to week 2?
Well, the difference was basically the pass game opened up the run game, and all you have to do is look at the safety right before halftime. There's an old adage in football: the last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half is really a big deal. And that game, there was kind of ebb and flow, and I know Jim was grumpy when San Diego State scored first. He probably thought that was the end of the season. He was going to throw everything in, and they were going to lose every single game from that point on. But, the Cougs hung in there and were able to kind of do some things, turn it around. But when Bobby Boucher, Mr. Isaac Terrell came in and made that sack, you could just see the momentum on the sideline. That turned that whole game around. Then they had to punt. Then WSU goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, hits the tight end, on the back of the end zone. All of a sudden, that's a 9-point swing. That was huge. And then they get the ball to start the third quarter, go right down the field and score again. That ball game was over. Well, I puckered a little bit at the end of the game when they blocked the field goal and then returned that darn thing, and then that dumbass jumped offside twice, and that screwed up your bet. So that probably made you two guys grumpy because then you lost the over or under on that deal because they went in and scored a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. But I just loved what I saw because they used the pass to set up the run, which is not something that you've normally seen from a Jimmy Rogers coach team, which shows me that he's willing to adapt, which I really liked. Those were kind of some of the things that I saw.
Jim, your week 2 thoughts as you get ready to tee off and with a mariachi band in the background. Go ahead.
Do you want me to move to? There's a meeting room here I could move to. Would that make it better?
Well, probably before we would have started, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I thought that was appropriate, though, that you made me so very happy, if you could hear that song in the background, because that's the way I felt Saturday night. See, I'm a sports talk show host. I can, have seamless transition just like Jason. But no, I'm with you, and I really liked what Rogers had to say, either post-game or in his Monday news conference, talking about the square peg in a round hole. He's not going to try and do that. And we talked about how we want to see the running game out of the Cougs because that's what we thought we were going to see from play one of the Idaho game. And we didn't see it, and he saw it wasn't working. And so, Paul, I like what you had to say, too, with, establishing the run by going with the pass first. So we saw the running game. I like the 1-2 punch of the home run hitter with Angel going at it when he gets his carries, and then Voorhees, the tougher yards. And so, yeah, it was a great combination. And it reminded me that I shouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction to so many things like I always do because, Paul, you were right. Ryan Leaf was right. Game 2 much better than game 1, and I'm hopeful against North Texas. I don't understand this 5-point spread with North Texas being favored over the Cougs, but we'll see. We're on the road for the first time, so that'll be a different deal.
It's actually it's gone up. It's 6.5 now. I don't know.
Wow.
They know the bettors in Vegas. Somebody knows something about what's going on, but the line now is 6.5, which is they are led by Eric Morris, the one-time offensive coordinator for Jake Dicker and the Washington State Cougars. So as Paul has pointed out, a lot of bubble screens coming on Saturday for the Cougs as they kick off at 12:30 there on ESPNU. I'll go back to the week 1 reaction to it. See, I think it's fine, though, to react that way. Fans should react any way that they want to react. And it's like coaches can tell everyone to calm down, and it's a long season. I think everyone understands that. But after week 1, I'm distracted by the go-to guy getting up in the middle of the taping and walking around and setting up. Is he the most, on a scale of 1 to 10, Paul, most unprofessional? What is 10 being the highest? Where are we at, you think?
It's maybe 11.5.
11.
Yeah, it's through the roof. And I'm surprised the mariachi band didn't follow him into the room there and, had a couple of things.
One would think before you started this show, you would have went to a quiet spot.
Did he order? What did he order? A chorizo to make sure he could have something there to settle the Bloody Mary as well. Oh, yeah. This is great. Great
meeting room. We're really excited. And I'm sure all the people watching and listening are so excited about the meeting room you are in for a teeing off for a golf round.
I love
Paul. What did you, Paul? Paul, what did you see out of Jaxon Potter in week 2, the improvement from week 1 to week 2?
Much calmer. And all of a sudden I saw multiple reads. He wasn't just locked in on one guy. I just saw a calmer nature. And I think the touchdown pass he threw, he went to the tight end a couple times. But you know what? He did some good things in there. He settled his feet. He moved in the pocket. And, and another thing, you're going to see him, as the season goes on, they're going to use him a little bit more in the RPO. They don't need him to run right now, but you're going to see him eventually run a little bit because that'll open some things up. And you also saw the run game expand a little bit. They were very vanilla against Idaho. They only had a couple of runs. It was very basic. Yeah, they added a few more little wrinkles. They'll do that again this week. They're going to save a few things for those little purple and P guys when they come over to Pullman. In 2 weeks, they're going to keep expanding the offense. But I like that he was able to throw the ball downfield. I like that they had multiple receivers that he went to. And I like the calmness in the pocket. That was a darn good defense. Number 2, that freaking guy in the, for San Diego State, he was a preseason, Mountain West defensive player of the year candidate. Basically they picked him for that, and he didn't get a sack. But he was in there. He was causing problems. Batted down a couple of passes. But I just thought, he's throwing at a 70% completion rate. He's got 4 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. And just the fact that he could stand in there, identify guys, get rid of the football. That 4th down throw that he threw from the right hash over to the left sideline, to get right down the field there at the end of the game, I thought was really clutch. And that was Drew Bledsoe-ish in terms of his ability. That showed his strength and also a maturation of a very, very young quarterback. I was impressed by that.
Well, the thing I'm still most impressed by with Jaxon Potter, and I said it last week, I'll repeat it again this week, but here's a kid that we thought was number 3 on the depth chart, and he's number 1 on the depth chart. And you can see why he's number 1 on the depth chart. And what I love about it, Cam Ward to John Mateer and your Jaxon Potter. And so how do you follow those 2 guys? The number 1 choice in the NFL draft, possible Heisman Award winner in John Mateer at Oklahoma this year. And now here you are, Jaxon Potter. And everybody's saying, hey, what about Zevi? Or what about Duggar? No one's saying, boy, I can't wait for Potter to start. So he's taken over, taking charge, and leading the team and looking good doing it. I mean, I love our receivers. The whole thing, that offense is really clicking right now.
I think, Paul, what I liked about his performance and even going back to week 1, 9 different receivers caught passes from him. And I just think that his ability, he doesn't focus in on one guy. He spreads the ball out. He's got a quick release. I just think there's a lot to like, and I think it takes you inside of why they made the decision to go with him, because we talked about it after week 1. They're like, why'd they go with him? Everyone assumed it was Zevi. Well, I'm not at practice. None of us are at practice. I don't know what they see, but I think the more you watch him play, I think you see the reasons why they elected to go with him. The only thing I don't really like, but if they're gonna do it, they've got to throw an element of pass. I don't like bringing the backup in. Because everybody on the defense, when Duggar comes in, they know what they're doing. He's gonna run the ball.
Well, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to have him look like he's going to run the ball, and then he's going to pass it. That's coming. That's
but why would you? But why would you have him pass it if he can't throw?
Because every idiot on the defense think he's going to run the ball. So that's the next little wrinkle. There's little wrinkles that they put in there, and that's the next thing that comes.
I'm just telling you.
I know.
I'm just telling you. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like bringing in the running quarterback. If you're gonna just let Potter, because when they brought him in last time, they were moving and they brought him in. I just think it can kind of screw up Potter. Maybe I'm off base.
No, Paul. Puck, I'm with you on that. Even just throw a bomb, and if it's incomplete, fine. But at least you're showing that he's going to be able to throw the ball.
Yeah.
But right now when he comes in, it's just like when Milroe comes in for the Seahawks. You know he's going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you guys are right. I agree with both of you guys, which is the first in this show's history. So I think that needs to be noted. But I'll also say this with regards to receivers. Let's give Meredith, let's give Freeman a lot of credit, because Devin Ellison, what probably had their best camp, he's been out with a bruised heel. He's probably not going to play this week, but I think he'll be back for the Husky game. You add him to the mix. You've got that Paps kid who's a freshman. He's come in. They were great on the outside, which opened up the running attack in terms of their ability to block on the perimeter. They created some real problems with the corners and the safeties with their ability to block, which opened up the running lanes as well. So not only catching the ball with the 9 receivers doing their thing, but the ability to attack the perimeter with wide receiver blocking. I think that was a really understated thing in this football game that was impressive.
Yeah, and Jim, going back to from week 1 to week 2, how we reacted from the first game, and I think we even said at the end, hey, let's see what happens in week 2. Just the physicality of how they played, and Jimmy Rogers had a line, because someone asked him, and I'm blanking on it. I'm going to find the exact quote. If you guys know it, just jump in, where he was talking about, why did the running game improve? And I think it was we just kept slicing or something. There was just.
They passed the ball.
It wasn't the passing one.
Oh,
no, but he had another line about the physicality of how they played in the second week. But Jim, just in terms of how they looked from a physical standpoint, was just night and day.
Well, yeah, it's just it's so odd, That's why it makes it so hard betting on these games, from my perspective, because how can you run for 3 yards against Idaho? And then San Diego State, they always have a good defense. They've got another good defense this year. And how were they able to have success against San Diego State when they couldn't move the ball against Idaho? It was just so strange to see. And then, Paul, I want to ask you about our defense and how good it looks. They're flying around. God, they're tackling. They're doing all the things, the fundamental stuff you love to see. But what will it be like? Can these guys do this against tougher competition, do you think?
Well, just the difference. Let's just go back to the Wyoming game. God, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth last year. Okay, you saw guys, kind of. They were grabbing with their fingers. They weren't sticking face in there. They weren't throwing their bodies in there. And it was one guy, at the point of attack. You saw multiple helmets on running backs, on wide receivers, on tight ends. They attack you with multiple players. That's what Jimmy Rogers' defense does. You get multiple hats on ball carriers. Watch the Seahawks. Watch good defenses. That's what you see. That's the difference this year, is their pursuit angles are better. Their angles are better. They're getting multiple guys to the ball. And that's a sign of a really good defense. The touchdown on 4th down, the defensive back fell down. Okay, it happens. They had him covered for a couple seconds. Good protection by San Diego State. The kid makes it. He tries to make a cut. He trips, falls down. Receiver comes open. Quarterback sees him, throws a touchdown pass. That was it. That was the big play for San Diego State, and it was just a bad break for Washington State. But overall, the defense really kind of held their water and kept a pretty darn good offense and kept them to 13 points. And so. I give credit to the defensive staff. They continue to get better. They're also going to get Cole Reeder back, who's a great safety. He's played over 2,000 snaps in 5 years. He comes back in on the back end, a very cerebral guy. You've got 3 really, really good senior laden safeties now back there. That's another add-on. I think that's going to be great. If you can get Ellison back on the wide receiver, for this offense, that's going to help going into the Apple Cup in 2 weeks. It's going to be a really neat thing.
They are really stacked at that safety spot with Tucker Large and Matthew Durrance, and now you just mentioned with getting Cale Reeder back there as well. And then they had that freshman Kyle Peterson who has been playing for him. I found the quote from Jimmy Rogers after the San Diego State game. I love the answer to this question because he was asked, "Hey, what led to the running game getting going? Why did the running game work this week and didn't work last week?" And he goes, quote, "Strike people, run the ball behind your pads." I don't have much of an answer other than that. I just love that, Paul. I just love that old school, just strike people. And I think the mission, it was clear that the goal all week was, because of how they played against Idaho, was just to be more physical. And I bet those were some of the most physical practices they had all year long.
Well, and you're going up
Paul,
against go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm curious. Just I'm not sure if I'm transitioning very well from what Puck's talking there, but the next opponent, North Texas, you played the game, Puck and I haven't. I mean, we look at it as fans going, "Oh God, North Texas, we should wipe the floor with them." But clearly, Las Vegas knows more than we do, and so how do you handle that as a coach and a player when you're going into a game? Because even these kids from South Dakota State, they're probably thinking, "Oh God, we're at Washington State now, and now we're going to play North Texas." How do you get everyone on the same page to be fired up for a game like that?
Well, I think you just show the movie Necessary Roughness and have Kathy Ireland prance out there and kick a field goal. That's where they filmed that movie, is at North Texas. So, you're going to have Sinbad and Scott Bakula and those guys. I mean, it's all good, man. It's you guys, that's probably before your time, and it's all good. But I think, again, if you go on the road, it's a 7-point favor, correct? Okay, I didn't get a laugh out of
6.5.
But at least Puck kind of got the deal. So
we're not. First of all, Necessary Roughness was like in the 80s. It was like 88.
I know. Come on, man. At least acknowledge it.
So when you
you should have laughed. You should have gotten that reference, man. You should have understood that. That was a great movie reference.
I think we are.
In the 80s with Paul Feig, though, aren't we? I mean,
you were drunk the whole time. You missed the damn thing. You freaking should have seen that movie. It was a good movie. I had a crush on Kathy Ireland. She was cute. And so anyway, to answer your question, so now you're transitioning to an air raid. You're going to a team that's going to spread you out, throw the ball all over the place, and then try to run 2 or 3 little running plays. So you got to be basic up front. So now you've got a defense that's physical, but has to play against a spread offense and has to be disciplined now on the point of attack. You can't let a quarterback get outside. You saw what Idaho did when we weren't disciplined. They let the quarterback get outside and rush for 100 yards. This quarterback is not going to rush for 100 yards, but he will also shred you if you're not solid in your coverage. So you have to get back to your fundamentals and your pass coverage, and you got to be physical at the point of attack. And so, again, now you're going to do what Washington did to Mike Leach kind of teams, where you're going to probably have to drop 8, rush 3 or 4, bring pressures, kind of disguise that stuff, and just mess with that offense in terms of how you bring pressures. So it's the same exact thing that we've seen come against Mike Leach's offense. Washington State's going to have to do the same thing against Eric Morris's offense. We're just flipping the script. So that's all. That's what they're going to do. It'll be fun.
It's a different air raid, though. None of us have watched any of the North Texas team play.
They're a little bit. But if you look, it's like Incarnate Word. The game that we played at Eastern in the first game of the year, they're a little bit more run based, but they attack you between the tackles. But they'll run 3 receivers, they'll run 4 receivers, they run motion. But it's got air raid tendencies, but it's just they spread you out. They attack you horizontally and vertically, but they're throwing the ball all over the place, and they do it very, very quickly. They
but
use
see, that
tempo.
he hasn't. But that's what my point was. He hasn't thrown the ball all over the place in the first 2 games. 33 and 32 attempts is it. They're running the ball
more than they did with 40 attempts. We threw the ball more than wow. Okay.
Well, they ran the ball against Western Michigan 57 times for 216 yards.
Well, maybe they had 135-pound.
Or excuse me, I was the other way. No, hold on. 30. They had 30 carries for $182 against Western Michigan. I mean, I don't know if it doesn't seem, just looking at the stats, it doesn't seem like it's the air raid offense that we grew up with watching.
It's an RPO kind of attack. So they're going to read basically what we do, and then they're going to base their attack off how we attack them. That's what they're going to do. Run pass option.
I have a question for both of. Oh, sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I have a question though for both of you. Do you think that Morris has a bone to pick with us at all, or at least looks at like beating Washington State as a bigger deal than beating Western Kentucky to him?
Go ahead, Jason, if you want to answer that. I can answer it, but I'll wait till Jason responds.
I think, if Dickert were still here, probably. There was clearly a rub between he and Dickert, but none of those guys are here anymore. So I don't think it's the AD isn't here, the head coach isn't here, none of the players are here. So I don't think so. And just to quickly before Paul jumps in, North Texas had 182 yards on the ground against Western Michigan. Western Michigan rushed for 216 yards against this team. So it might be another opportunity for this offense to put up some huge numbers there on the ground. Go ahead,
Well,
Paul.
Morris came out and blasted Washington State in the Pac-12 when they brought Texas State in. So he has a bone to pick because he felt like North Texas should have been part of the Pac-12, not Texas State. So he's a little cranky pants. It's just a chance to kind of, coming into Texas, every school feels that they should be the school. And maybe he felt a little bit rubbed by the fact that it was Texas State and not North Texas. So who knows? But I think it's going to be fun. And again, you get to go and you get to plant your flag in the state of Texas. If you do well there's more eyeballs. It helps you with recruiting. This is a barnstorming year for this team. You're going all over the United States and you're waving the flag as a football team. You win in Texas. You win in Virginia. You win in Mississippi. You win in wherever the hell you go. You have a chance to really establish this brand, this football team rolling into 2026. I think it's fantastic. They just need to put up a big tent and have elephants and tigers, and you got a circus. And that's what this is in 2025.
You know what this is, though, from a betting perspective? It's a classic letdown game, and it's a look-ahead game for Washington State. You got the Huskies next week, and you're playing North Texas this week. I'm hoping the fact that we have so many South Dakota State kids that,
exactly.
North Texas is kind of a bigger deal to them or whatever, it's a fun road trip. But, betting-wise, I would maybe stay away from the Cougs this week just because you got the Huskies next week.
Well, that's why we take the under.
Yeah. What did you promise me last week? You said, hey, this Sorensen bet the house. This is a sure thing last week.
It was a sure thing.
And what happened?
It was a sure thing. The San Diego State guy had the over.
And
so
he
jumped off sides twice.
And what happened? You guys lost?
Because we needed the under to hit there. So we needed that
field
goal.
By the river now.
Score another touchdown.
Of course I was hoping they would score a touchdown. I bet the under. Of course.
I know, but that's our team.
Yeah, but I wanted them to hit the field goal and then call it good. That's all I wanted.
So now you're Jim Moore.
Yeah, you did. You're goddamn right I was.
So
well, hey,
Jim,
what did you make? Hey, I got a couple more things for it. Hey, Paul, let me start with you first.
Okay.
What is the goal from where you sit? And look at Jim's already finished his Bloody Maria. God, we've been here for 10 minutes. Do you have to tee off, Jim? You got to go.
I got 5 minutes till I'm on the first tee. I'll show you the first tee out here.
No, we don't need to see the first tee. Just
maybe there's a
little red tees out there, and there's a little.
No one.
Somewhere. Look at this place I'm at.
That's a lot of rocks. You have to chip off there. That's a tough angle.
This is nice. One of the worst
old
Crimson shows we've ever done.
We are so sorry that it's.
Okay, well, get Ref it and Elise back then.
Well, God, they would provide more insight than you. Tell you that.
Oh, we apologize.
We'll got it.
Flat Stick, sorry, we need to give them a refund this week. Oh my goodness, jeez Louise. Hey, by the way, they
Jim,
bought the Cougar golf cart. Did you see that? They
I did
bid on
see that.
Bring it to
Congrats
Spokane.
to Andy
They'd
Largent.
love that. We could drive around downtown Spokane and pick up all the hobos. That'd be awesome.
Hey, Jim, before you go, what is your expectation? What do you think the goal for year one under Jimmy Rogers is?
Goal in year number one for Jimmy Rogers?
Yeah.
Wow. Win 7 games.
Okay.
Yeah, win 7 games. I mean, if he wins 7 games in his first year with all those transfers, we talked about the 75 new players, and I know a lot of them, played for him already, but boy, that would set a good foundation, wouldn't it, if he could win 7 games, especially with this barnstorming schedule that Paul talks about that we have, because you look at Ole Miss and Virginia, those are probable L's for us. Washington's going to be tough, but yeah, 2 against Oregon State. Those look tougher before the season started. The Beavs look like they're down now. I don't even know if they're behind their coach anymore.
Boy,
Coach
that's a bad situation in Corvallis right now.
Yeah,
bad.
I think 7 wins still looks achievable at this point, and that would be the goal for me.
Paul, for you.
1 a week. Win 1 a week. Win them all.
Not just overall, big picture.
Okay.
What is
Win
the
1 a
goal?
week.
How about 1 day at a time, too? 1 day at a
I
time.
don't care. Win
Can
1 a
you
week.
just play along? What is the goal in year one for Jimmy Rogers?
He's done a great job. He's won his first 2. He's won 1 a week, which is nice. And here's the other thing. You guys hit the nail on the head. You got dudes from South Dakota State. If North Dakota was on the schedule, I'd be worried. They don't know who the hell North Dakota or even Washington is. Maybe they've seen it on TV, so they're not looking over for the Huskies. They could care less about UW. Half those guys are from frickin' SEC and Ohio State, places like that, all these other schools. They don't care. So they're focusing on whatever's going on this week. I think 7. I'm moving it up to 8, maybe even 9 wins if they can stay healthy. I'm moving it up 2 wins over where I had because of what I've seen. So I'm going 9 wins now.
All right, so next week we're gonna let Jim. We're gonna leave because Jim's got to go tee off.
Bye, Jim.
Next week we're gonna discuss. Apparently, Jed Fish wants to bring Jaden DeLora in to speak to the University of Washington before the Apple Cup. Yes, we will tease it with that. Thank you for watching and listening to the Old Crimson Podcast. New episodes come out every Wednesday on all Puck Sports platforms. And, of course, always brought to you by Flat Stick Pub, Andy Largent and his crew. They got 6 amazing locations across the state of Washington: Kirkland, Pioneer Square, South Lake Union, Spokane, Bellingham, and Redmond. Visit them today at flatstickpub.com. We'll see you next week. Thank you, boys.
Go Cougs.
And again, if you missed any of the Old Crimson podcasts, that will be up on YouTube by itself and also part of the Daily Puck Drop. And then also, if you just want to listen to us yell and scream, of course, it will be a part of the Daily Puck Drop on every Wednesday with myself, Jim Moore, the go-to guy, and, of course, Paul Sorensen, All-American safety at Washington State University. And big thanks to Andy Largent and Flat Stick Pub for bringing you the Old Crimson podcast every single week. I can't stress enough. If you have a large group and you're thinking, we need an event space, we need something to go, we need a place to have great food and great drinks, lots of TVs. They know how to put the games on the TVs. That's what you know what? Flat Stick Pub, they're not going to tell you, I don't know what channel that is, because they're trained by Andy Largent at Flat Stick Pub. It is a great spot for large group events. If you are looking for a space for a big group, whether it's for your business or it's for a birthday party, flatstickpub.com. They got 6 great locations across the Puget Sound area. And Andy Largent, you may, if you're a Cougar fan, great spot for the Cougs, by the way, obviously. If you're there on Saturdays, Andy is the one who bought the Cougar football helmet truck that they auctioned off a few weeks ago. And it will probably at some point make an appearance at one of his Flat Stick Pub locations. All right, coming up, we're going to get to Seahawks football, top of the hour. Rob's top of the hour, like I'm saying, like I'm back on the radio. Rob Staton will join us coming up in a bit to talk Seahawks football. Of course, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He was in town. He watched them in person. He got to see the full Seahawks experience. we have to talk about our dinner from hell. It just has to be brought up because I have so much. We could do the full show could be about our dinner from hell. I'm gonna tell you that the full show. I nothing has irritated me more this entire week than that dinner. I have unpacked it 1,000 times of how I should have handled that. Nothing Rob did. But we will talk about their week 1 loss there to the 49ers. We will discuss looking ahead to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Could there be a position move coming up? Josh Jobe and Reek Woolen, who obviously had a terrible game there for Seattle in week 1 against the Niners. There's a lot to get to there with Rob Staton coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. So we will, before we wrap up the show, we will talk to Rob Staton as we do every single Wednesday. Also, every single Wednesday, it is our time to talk more baseball with our MLB insider, Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times. Every Wednesday, Divish and I sit down for a long chat. You can watch and listen to the full show if you sign up to become a Pucks Posse member on our Posse page. All you got to do is go to pucksports.com. Top of the webpage will take you to the Puck Sports Patreon page in which you can watch and listen to the full show. It will be up after the show, by the way. But every Wednesday, we give you, those who are not Posse members, Divish Light. And on this week's episode with Divish, we talk about his cheating on me again with Ryan Rollins-Smith, but also about the Mariners and how they were facing the pressure on the last homestand, how they've been able to turn it around and what a difference a week makes, and the arrival of Victor Robles and what that means for this Mariners team. Here is this week's Divish Light, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl.
Yeah, friggin' my big-ass face with Rollins-Smith on the my face looks gigantic, and he's like handsome.
I've got a couple comments about the show.
Uh-huh.
Got a couple comments about the show. There's just some things I'd like to discuss. One, I don't like when you step out.
I know. I did foul territory too.
Number two, why do you dressed up? There was some energy to you.
I'm representing Tacoma here. Look at this.
Yeah, you had a pep in your step with Rollins-Smith.
Oh yeah, that's called.
It felt like Rollins-Smith was getting all the good stuff.
Okay, here we go.
Ryan Divish, he's with us. He's with us every Wednesday. Of course, our MLB insider from the Seattle Times. He's brought to you by another Tacoma staple. He's Tacoma boys and girls through and through. Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley. We need some shirts. I'm going to
do you think Reggie's got shirts or hats or something?
You
know what he needs? He needs to get us bowling shirts.
Oh, hold on.
Like Puck Sports bowling shirts.
Hold on, I'm writing that down.
Yeah. We can look like Roy McAvoy at the U.S. Open, Salome trucking on the front.
I've saved this on Instagram. I'm going to find, I think the company is called Critique.
Uh-huh.
And they're making shirts like that. The old school in 1970s, big collar college football coach shirts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then they've got the logo of every college team on there. Oh my! You pair that with a big poker visor, you are right out of 1976 coaching on the sidelines with small bike shorts. They're the most beautiful shirts, but I love your idea. Reggie's got to have a bowling shirt.
I think I said this before, but I had to have a moviecation with my stepson Tyson. I made him watch Dazed and Confused. Oh, and he just thought it was one of the best movies ever. He just was it really like this back in the day? And I go, well, not for me, but I love when he goes, the coaches, when they see the coaches and the guy's got the high socks and the short bike shorts. Because I had coaches like that.
Yeah, that we had our coach. What was he in football? He was our strength coach for football.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Grappo. Just short bike shorts. And I mean, just the whole look, man. God, I love that. All right. So I'm going to work on Reggie. We're going to see if he's got to have bowling shirts or something. We'll get something. Chalet Bowl. They've been bringing you Ryan Divish for a very, very long time. Family owned and operated for 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service, unique 12-lane experience. Check him out at chaletbowl.com. Book your next reservation. Experience the best in local fun. All right, Divish. Wow, what a difference. Baseball's crazy. What a difference a week makes. I mean, last week there's pitchforks. Dan Wilson needs to be fired. Hollander out. DePoto out. Everyone's a moron. Yeah. And now we talk a week later. They're a game out of Houston, and people are back in. God, that's why I love sports, and it's why I love baseball in particular.
We had a line. I'm sure but like when, you make a really great play in the field or whatever, and then you screw up the whip around, you throw it around, like you have a good strikeout, and then the catcher fires it to the left fielder. I'm like, include them all. Let's go from penthouse to outhouse. Yeah. The Mariners went from outhouse to penthouse in like 4 games. I mean, but that's the run. Like, we were talking about it this week. Look at the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers lost a game where they had a no-hitter 8 2/3, and they lost a game. They
lost a no-hitter twice.
Yeah,
well, they lost that game. They won the other game, but
yeah. But the swings in this season from teams, and I think it's because there really isn't a dominant team, maybe other than the Phillies or the Brewers. And the Phillies have actually had a couple rough things. The Brewers are pretty solid, but even then, they've lost 2 in a row to the Rangers. I mean, like, I don't think there's like a dominant team. One, because I don't think there's like a pitching staff, like a rotation that's so good that you can win, that you don't avoid these from time to time. And you're seeing a lot of guys are beat up this time of year. And, but yeah, like the Mariners, like, I didn't think they were as bad as the results were. Obviously the one Kirby game got out of hand, but you look at the Cleveland series, they could have won every game in that Cleveland series, and probably could have won a couple games in the Rays series if they had played a little bit better. So I didn't think they were as bad as the results maybe, but this time of year it's so different. Like, think about this, like, had they switched, they had that run on the road trip, or where they, whatever, the couple bad road series, but they had that in August, but then they had the 9-1 road homestand right now. People will be like, signing up for the World Series. So it's like all the timing of it and everything like that, and the perception versus the reality. The perception was that team was cratering and going through one of those late season meltdowns that they always do. And the reality was that, like, they just weren't playing very well for a stretch. But I mean, I spent a lot of time going through those couple seasons in that story I wrote, and it was amazing. Like, going back and looking at those seasons and like some of the swings and stuff that they had, you remember like when they traded Graveman, they lost 6 out of their next 8 and kind of really hurt themselves again, then they pulled back in, and then, it's crazy, like, how different it can change in a minute.
It's wild. I mean, it's absolutely wild. And now, what was a week ago, you thought, and probably the last time we spoke, they were probably 4 games out. And then you're just, well, that's over. They're not gonna get the division now. Now they got to worry about Texas, who's nipping at their heels, and Texas is still nipping at their heels despite all the injuries. But they get back home. The last 2. Obviously, against Atlanta, were huge for them. Not because, hey, they weren't going to continue that offensive barrage, but I think it just gave them confidence. They scored a bunch of runs, and that they felt better about themselves. And you end a road trip that was not good, but on a positive note. And they come back home, and they have taken the first 2 games of this series, and they did it in different manners. Wu was, kind of the story in the first game, among other storylines. Yesterday it was the offense. It's Randy Rosarine. It's Josh Naylor, who just, and that's what I want, is crazy playoff Josh Naylor. Well, and we got a glimpse of it last night, where he just lost his mind and almost took somebody out in the Mariners dugout with the bat throw.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like, I think it started on that Saturday game in Atlanta when they hit all those home runs and you could just feel them exhale, because they got behind, they hit the home runs, they took a lead, and you could just almost feel them exhale, like, okay, now we can go, like, because they were like the tense the tension in that clubhouse on that during that Rays series, when Wu and called out themselves and just basically said, no more excuses. We just got to play better. And Cal talked about it, and they admitted, you don't want a repeat of what's happened in the last few seasons. And I think it's better to speak about it than ignore the situations that's looming. But there was a tension there. And then they hit those home runs on Saturday, and they just sort of relaxed, and then you started to see it. And I do think, and like, it's not because of his energy. Like, I know that people make a big deal about it, but getting Victor Robles back and getting a better defensive outfielder in right field and being able to play sort of the way you want makes a huge difference. I mean, the first game in Atlanta, if Robles is playing in that game, they probably win that game because Dom Canzone didn't get to that double in the first inning, and he didn't get to the triple in the ninth. I mean, I think that's almost 3 runs that you're talking about, or 2 or 3 runs. That's a different game. I mean, Robles makes a huge difference defensively. And you're also seeing like what they can do, like now with they're playing Polanco at second base or Rivas, not run Cole Young out against lefties. They're just in a better spot because they got their roster like freed up a little bit with Robles back.
Well, I mean, they're undefeated, right? I think they're 4-0 since his return.
Yeah. I mean, it's just because you're a lot, like, your roster is set up in a way that you wanted to play. And that was like, I think people, well, obviously the people that thought he shouldn't be suspended at all, which is insane. They didn't understand it. Like, that hurt them badly.
Of course it did.
Because they had all these plans on how they want to do stuff.
Well, it's not only just his defense, and it's, there is an energy to him that he brings to the ball club. There's a fire to him. There's an unpredictable nature about him. When he gets on base, I just think he's a problem, and I just think it's, you couple that with a Rosarina and Naylor and Julio. There's just a good energy that he brings to the ball club. I don't know how much they were missing, but I just think it's a positive. I think he's an overall positive for the team. I mean, is it a coincidence that they're 4-0? I don't know, but I mean, it can't hurt his return, and obviously it has not hurt.
Another thing is too is like they were able to get some guys some days. JP got a day off, a whole day off. Naylor got a day and a half off. That helped them. I mean, like, you look at Naylor now, looks a little more refreshed. He's dealing with the shoulder and some other stuff, just kind of dinged up a little bit. JP was dinged up a little bit. I mean, those guys were grinding. Get them a day off. I mean, I think it just rejuvenates you. You get back home too. It's not, it's not 1,000,000 degrees outside. Yeah, I just think it's better, the whole situation. Like, it was a different outlook. Once you got to the Atlanta series, you got Robles back, you could play kind of the way you wanted to, you get his energy. I think it's a
And again, a reminder, if you want to watch or listen to the full Ryan Divish podcast, go sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. All you got to do is go to pucksports.com. We get more into the Mariners, more into the Josh Naylor. Good discussion on Josh Naylor extension. I know he and Adam Jude disagree with my 5 years, $100 million. I think I've turned Divish around on that one. But we talk about what a Naylor extension looks like. George Kirby, what's going on with George Kirby? Why is he tipping pitches? How is he tipping pitches? But something is off with George Kirby. And we talk more playoffs as the season winds down for the Mariners. And again, full video audio for Pucks Posse members. Sign up today at pucksports.com. The full episode will be up later on the Pucks Posse Patreon page once the live show is over. All right, we go from baseball now back. Well, we haven't even discussed it. Well, we discussed it a little bit today, to the National Football League. He joins us every single Wednesday. We just saw him. We saw him Sunday night. And as I'm going to tease this before he comes on, I think Rob and I could spend the entire show today not talking about the game, but talking about what happened after the game. And it may be more entertaining. Ladies and gentlemen, from across the pond, it is our good friend, Rob Staton, who talks Seahawks football with us every single week. Inside the bloody trenches with Rob Staton. SeahawksDraftBlog.com. You can follow Rob on social media, Rob Staton. Also, check out his YouTube page, Rob Staton Football. His weekly appearance brought to you by the world-renowned Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva, Rogers Pilsner, Georgetown's Tavern Beer. Tasting Room Beer Garden open daily, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Georgetown Beer. And look at you. Go Cougs. Great hat, Rob.
Well, yes. Well, one of the things I was planning on doing when I was out in Seattle was to find a Cougars hat because I didn't have one. So mission accomplished in that regard. So there we go. And I thought I'd wear it today for the show.
Have you recovered from our dinner?
Well, it's interesting because you've teased it a little bit. So to sort of fill people in, we obviously met for dinner after the game, and we were just sort of getting warmed up in the conversation before this gentleman in front of us decided he was going to speak to us instead, and his poor wife was there just enduring this conversation. I think he was a little drunk.
You think?
Yes, and I'm trying to be polite. And then you clearly had enough. I had a little bit of a drink to finish, and I was determined to finish it. So I stayed another 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes after Puck left, I am convinced that this guy was thinking at one point of throwing a punch. And the reason for that was because he was insistent that if the United States of America played England at cricket, that the United States of America would win handsomely. To which I explained to him that was not likely. And I did it in a very polite way. I said, listen, if we cobbled a team together to take on your best baseball players, it would be a massacre. Likewise, if we entered the gridiron and took on your top NBA players, but you've got to give us cricket and rugby and soccer. And he was not having it. In his world, USA are the best at everything.
He just couldn't understand why America is not beloved. Right. That was kind of the overall theme of the night was, why do people hate America?
To which I would often say, I like America. And he'd go, no, tell the truth.
Yeah,
and I'm here. I'm in America now. Like, and my other favorite moment was when he asked you whether you knew who Ryan Leaf was.
Oh, Jesus. That was my point. That was that was when I was done. I was done with the, you know Ryan Leaf. Well, no, we had already established I went to school there. He had taken a shot at the Cougs. And that's when I was done with the conversation. Was like, why would, and again, to me, he embodied the stereotypical Seahawks fan to me. Now it's a stereotype, but it's very drunk, very pro-America, lots of tattoos. Dip was coming out of the bottom lip, and it was just like, Seahawks. And when he said to me, I don't understand why anybody would be a Cougars fan. Keep in mind, this guy lives in Spokane. To where I said, well, I went to school there. Why wouldn't it be? What are you a fan of? The Huskies. Let me guess you didn't go to school there. No. Shocker. And then it was later revealed he was also an Oregon Ducks fan. I found that to me was when it reached peak time. And and anytime someone says, hey, I don't mean to interrupt, because he interrupted us and how it all started because Rob and I were talking about coaching youth sports. And I had said, I think coaching football is the hardest thing, where he interrupted and said, I disagree. I think baseball is. And then anytime someone says, I don't mean to interrupt, well, you do, because you just interrupted. That I have racked my brain all week how I could have removed ourselves from that conversation. You don't understand how much I was up Sunday night after that, staring at my ceiling, wondering what could I have done differently to get out of it, to remove ourselves, because what was the brilliance in that guy was there was never room to leave. Like it was a run-on sentence, and you couldn't get out.
And he, having interrupted, he effectively joined us. He made himself the center point of the night. So we had our meal and a couple of drinks, and then I think they thought that we were all together because they actually brought us a free dessert because of a wait or something, and they gave it for the four of us. They put four plates down, so they obviously thought we'd met up with them. When
we had sat down, he was just finishing his whiskey, and he hit barely any left. I'm like, so we were small talking, and we were nice, and we're like, all right, well, once he's over with that, we'll be done. When he ordered the second one, I was like, we're done. And then when he ordered the third one, and I think he had a fourth one, he was drinking double Woodford. I mean, it was a 4-finger pour, this guy. It was great to catch up with you. It was a fine meal. It made up for the game itself, but you've had a few days now to think back, look back to the game. But what were your opening thoughts on their opening loss to San Francisco?
My opening thoughts are I feel a little bit foolish because having been so upbeat during the summer, that was not anywhere close to what I was expecting. And now I'm sort of thinking, okay, this is either going to go one of two ways. Either I'm going to have been proven completely wrong, or that was just a typical week one poor performance. And I really hope it's just that. The problem is, though, Puck, is it's a poor week one performance against a division rival. If they'd have played the Texans like the Rams and lost, you think, okay, it's one of those. Maybe the Texans are really good or whatever. But to lose to the Niners again in Seattle, to be 1-7 at home in your last 8 games, it's a real that was a real gut punch, that performance. And I think people I've listened to a few things on my way home, and I think there's a bit of straw clutching going on about some of the positives from that game. There were some positives, but I think people are overdoing the positives and not focusing on what the negatives were.
Okay, so are you think some are making too much of the positives? And what are the positive? I mean, number one, defense played great.
The defense some defenders played well. Leonard Williams had a great game, I thought. I thought Jaron Reed played very well. I thought Ernest Jones played very well. I thought Julian Love played very well. I thought Devin Witherspoon had a poor game. I think Tyrese Knight had a poor game. I think the edge rushers did create some pressure, but struggled to make the impact plays, to finish plays, to feel like, okay, I feel really good about the edge rush. And then obviously our friend Reek Woolen had a really bad game at the end, or that one drive. I mean, it's unfair to say really bad game. He had a bad drive, which was 2 huge plays, which ultimately won the game for the Niners.
And I think that's, hold on, Rob, and let me just, I don't mean to interrupt, but let me jump in there, because I think it does come down to the last drive for Reek, because earlier, he makes a fantastic play at the goal line. And I can't remember who was that on. Was that on Pearsall or McCaffrey?
Yes, Pearsall.
I mean, that's a fantastic play. I mean, and that's what tells you his skill set and his ability on that play. But unfortunately, you don't talk about it, and for good reason, because it's overshadowed by how he played on that last drive in particular.
Yeah, it's a great play. It's the kind of play that very few cornerbacks can make. It's just, he's in year 4 now, and his fundamentals on the deep throw were all over the place. And then on the last play, how he has not got a fingertip to that or anything to make that catch an incompletion. It doesn't have to. And look, he should have intercepted it probably, but he's not even got a finger on it. No. And then the defense overall, the Niners moved the ball like it was a bit bend but don't break from the defense. Like they would march down the field, then the defense would get a key stop. They'd either go for it on 4th down and typically convert, or they'd try the field goal. And obviously that went epically bad for them twice, and they've cut their kicker since. So I think, yes, I think the defense played the hearts out. They were on the field for an unbelievable amount of time. But I just think that offensive performance, I think a lot of people have focused on the 4th down thing. I get it. I understand that argument. I understand why people are talking about that. I don't personally think it was as serious as some others, but I do understand why the people talk about it. For me, the offensive play call. This is the way I want to put it to you, Puck. Okay, I'm making a lasagna for us both. I'm going to go out that day and I'm going to buy all the ingredients. I'm going to get the meat. I'm going to get the vegetables. I'm going to get what I need to make a ragu. I'm going to need the stuff to make a bechamel sauce. I need the pasta sheets. I need everything to make a lasagna. And then having got all the stuff and put it together, I'm going to perform the making of a lasagna. Okay. If you say, in advance. We're going to be outside zone. We're going to run the football. We're going to play action. We're going to do all this. And then you get to the game and it's like, yeah, we'll have Jalen Milrow in the first drive. Yeah, we're going to have empty sets all the time. Yeah, we're going to be in the shotgun all the time. We're going to run the Ryan Grubb offense for a game. And then afterwards, when the first question that Mike McDonald was asked on Monday was, you ran play action less than any other team in the NFL on Sunday. Why? And his answer was, yeah, that can't happen. We need to do it more. I'm thinking, you've had all summer. Like if I'm getting the ingredients together and this is what we're going to be, and I'm making lasagna, I can't make a meat pie instead and then afterwards go, yeah, I intended to make a lasagna. It's just ridiculous to me. I don't understand what they were thinking with that offensive game plan.
I don't know where else to go, and I wonder if our audience knows where else to go, because all I'm thinking about right now is lasagna.
Yeah, but it is a fantastic dish.
It isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just one of the best. It's just, God dang it, man. I'm having lasagna tonight. Thank you.
Cool.
I've said this before, and it makes me think back to Pete Carroll a little bit. Because one of the things I'd get so frustrated with Pete Carroll would be is kind of what McDonald did after the game. He'd come in and say, well, we needed to run the ball more. And I would always think, but you have the headset on. You're watching the game. Why are you not screaming at whoever your offensive coordinator is to run the ball more? And so I guess I would say the same thing to Mike McDonald. You were watching the game take place, and I get it. There's so much going on. And so I think after the fact, as you sit down and maybe rewatch it and then realize you weren't doing enough of what you thought you were going to do. But as he's watching the game plan take place, and then also he knows what the game plan going in is going to be, I wonder why he didn't at some point, second quarter, halftime, hey, Clint, we need to get back to what we were working on. Play action, that's what we need to be. And so that's what frustrates me, and I know it's just a game one, and I don't want to overreact too much. But a lot of that stuff is on the head coach. That's why you're there. He's not calling I can't remember. Is he calling the defense this year again?
Yes.
Okay. But that's on you. A lot of, and we can blame Kubiak as much as we want, but that to me, that falls a lot on Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something in that, because I think at halftime there's a few things that you say. Can we please run some more outside zone? Please, can we not be empty as often as we are? Just run play action more. These are simple things that he can ask. I get the sense, whether this is the right thing or not, that he is quite hands-off with his offensive coordinators, that he's effectively letting them be the head coach of the offense, and he's like dedicating everything to the defense. Now, I suspect there's probably a lot of coaches who do that. It's just the reverse. Typically, it would be you. Like, I can't imagine that Sean McVay or Kevin O'Connell, for example. Kevin O'Connell's a better example. I don't think he's turning to Brian Flores and saying, hey, Brian, you need to do this. I think he's probably just letting Brian Flores do it. And I think Mike McDonald's created that environment, and it's just that he's the defensive head coach and Kubiak's defensive coordinator. It was just, to me, it felt worrying and a bit alarming, even as after one game, that Kubiak seemed to overthink what was going on in that situation. And there's just so many things. They didn't stretch the field ever. Can you remember one pass that they thought we're going to attack the secondary at the third level?
Probably I think they only completed one on the outside further than 20 yards. And wasn't that to JSN on the final drive?
And it's a wheel route. So it's not even a deep shot. It's a created play. You are manufacturing that opportunity with a wheel route. Like, it's not can we just, 4 verts. Let's just test them. Let's just see if we can get it downfield.
Well, that's what was disappointing. And as you and I were sitting down across from Seahawks fan on Sunday night, we had talked about, our concern about the wide receivers. And there was so much promise and discussion about Torrey Horton during camp and all of it. And he was having a great camp. He's, Marquez Valdez Scantling, they get rid of him because of Horton. doesn't catch a pass. Robbie doesn't even get a target in the game. I mean, you would have told me before the game that Horton doesn't even get a target. I'd be like, you're crazy. Absolutely. There's nuts. There's no way. But the fact that he didn't get one single target in the game, that's a problem. I think this wide receiver core is going to be a problem all year.
Well, not even just that. It's the tight ends weren't involved at all. I was convinced that the tight ends would have a big role in this. And AJ Barner showed he can catch passes last season. Elijah Arroyo is a pass catching tight end. They were a complete afterthought. It was JSN was the passing offense. So now, and again, that total understand it's week 1. That next week could be a totally different game. And maybe they get this out of the system, and they needed the game like that to just make sure to affirm who they want to be and what they're going to do and do it properly. However, you can also look at it the other way. If Sam Darnold thinks I've only got one real receiver here and it's JSN, and if Cooper Kupp can't get it done now, I mean, he had a couple of drops. If the younger guys are just not ready or not good enough or whatever you want to say to have an impact in at this stage, like Torrey Horton's a rookie, but like the other guys that they kept, Derek Young, White, if they're not good enough, then you are going to become one-dimensional very quickly to JSN. And it does make you wonder. I wrote about this the other day. Last season, they needed better at linebacker, and they traded for one. And the year before that, they needed better at interior defensive line, and they traded for one. Part of me wonders if, how many weeks do you give this until you're out there sort of saying, hey, Miami, what's Jalen Waddle's asking price and stuff like that?
Sure. I mean, Cooper Kupp, 3 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards. I mean, I don't want to be glass half empty on Cooper Kupp. I understand he's from this state. He was a legend in high school. He was a legend in college football. He has had an unbelievable career in the NFL. But, this is not a new worry, I think, for me and others with Cooper Kupp. I know a lot of people were excited that Cooper Kupp signed here. And again, I'm overreacting to week 1. And I learned my lesson. And I've said this before. I learned my lesson. The Cougars had a very similar week 1 game against Idaho. They looked awful on offense. They get to week 2 against San Diego State, looked way better. A huge improvement. Maybe we will see the same thing. And next week when we talk, we're talking about, man, Kubiak and McDonald, they figured it out. They were wrapped up, bottled up in week 1. Look at the changes they made in week 2, which is certainly possible. And we have to acknowledge that. But, when I think of Kupp, I just was concerned you're not getting Cooper Kupp from 4 years ago. When is the last time he played a full season? And the last time he was really good? That's 4 years ago. Injuries, wear and tear, it eats up on you. And I don't know if teams in defenses are afraid of him anymore. And once they realize that, okay, you just touched on it, we can scheme for JSN, they take him away. Who strikes fear in you? I mean,
well, also
that's a question they need to answer.
So this is the. Do you know what's? This is amazing. I think you'll laugh at this. So we've got serious question marks about how good this receiving group is. They didn't get the tight ends involved at all, and at running back, you've got a player that you don't really seem to know what to do with in Ken Walker, and a player who seems ideally suited to run this system. And for whatever reason, in week 1, they didn't just say, Zach, Charbonnet, it's your job today. But the one thing we haven't talked about is the offensive line. And maybe that's a positive thing, because last year we talked about everything else. Sorry, we didn't talk about anything else. It was O-line, O-line, O-line. Now, I don't think the O-line had an amazing game or anything. They certainly weren't pushing people off the ball, and they weren't getting huge. They had some successful runs, but it was always like a successful run was a 7-yard run. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a 20-yard run. So the Niners did a good job limiting that. I mean, I tell you what, Fred Warner is unbelievable live. What a player. Like, you watch him, when you actually see him in person, you realize that this is a superhuman player. Mm-hmm. And it was incredible watching him again. But yeah, they didn't get much push from it. But maybe that's the one reassuring thing, is that maybe the O-line is bordering on okay. And if that's the case, then that's an improvement. But yeah, I think there's some serious question marks. Do they have the weapons? Are they going to scare teams? I think it's sometimes. Do you know? Here's the other thing. So people will talk about undrafted free agents when they won the Super Bowl. Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse. They didn't have any sort of superstar receivers there. The two things I'd say to that is they did have a superstar quarterback. Whatever people want to say about Russell Wilson right now, Russell Wilson was a superstar quarterback in his first 6-7 years in the NFL. And the other thing is Doug Baldwin might have been an undrafted free agent, but he proved very quickly that he was in no way, shape, or form a player who should have gone undrafted. So you don't have that at the minute. You don't have Russell Wilson 2015 on the roster. You have Sam Darnold. You don't have Doug Baldwin. Yeah, JSN's a good player. I don't think he's as good as Doug Baldwin at the minute. So you're going to have to sort of look at this. And look, they could be 0-2 on Sunday if they don't fix this quickly. And then if you're 0-2, Puck, I know the Ravens were 0-2 last year to start off, but they had Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Well, the odds aren't in their favor to make the playoffs if they start 0-2. They just not. It's Condota had it via oddsshark.com, and I think it's 7 of the last 54 teams that have started 0-2 in the last 7 years have made the playoffs. So everyone else literally does not make the playoffs. So yeah, I mean you can panic and choose to view this game coming up on Sunday against the Steelers in any way you want, but 0-2 hole. You don't want to be in that. And I know I'm stating the obvious.
How do you think it'll go on Sunday?
Well, I think 1 or 2. Well, if they devise my plan, I think it goes well. We can get to that in a second. Steelers gave up a bunch of yards on the ground. I think that's a positive to the Jets. So I think that perhaps this running game will look vastly different. It's a tough place to play. You're on the road. It's first early game of the year. Aaron Rodgers looked good in week 1. So, I think it will be like most NFL games. I think it'll be a close, tight game. I think it's dependent on how kind of DK reacts, because I think DK Metcalf can go off because he's going to be motivated with what happened, or you devise the Puckett plan, the defensive plan, Rob. You stick Devin Witherspoon on him, and you have Devin Witherspoon punch him all game long and talk shit to him all game long, and just wait for DK to throw a haymaker. And then he's out of the game. That's all you got to do. Because if they do that, because I said this to Danny Kelly yesterday, if the game plan to get under his skin is the Niners, just look what the Niners do. Just constantly on him, cheap shots, talk shit to him all game long, and then he loses his cool. And I love DK, but he cannot help himself. But yeah, I think this one, I think it should worry every Seahawks fan. It's the first road game. Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf. I mean, there's a lot to worry about this. What about you?
I'm worried about it. I thought they'd lose this game. I thought they'd win week 1 and lose week 2 and start 1-1. And when I think back to that Jets game last year, I know Aaron Rodgers, he didn't have an amazing game, but it was a 5-point win against a bad Jets team. And I thought Aaron Rodgers played okay. And the Jets, their Jets did run a lot. Obviously, Hall had a ton of yards, didn't he? But, obviously Justin Fields, his running ability had an impact on that. Can they run as well against the Steelers? I'm not sure. You got highly motivated DK Metcalf. It's a tough place to go. We've seen Seattle go to Pittsburgh in week 2. And it feels like they've done this game a few times over the years. And it's been, they've had some bad beatings there. And they've also, I seem to remember them having a good win there. Maybe DK's rookie season. He's got his first touchdown there.
It doesn't feel like they've played well there.
So I'm concerned. And I think if you are 0-2 after this, it could become tricky. Like it could end up being maybe a bit more of like a 2011 type season where, you get things going, but it's later in the year. It's too late to sort of get to where you need to go. Maybe that kind of thing going on, and us sort of looking in the off season and thinking, there's still got a bit of work to do here. When I think a lot of us were hoping that maybe this could be the year when the Seahawks took control. However, I know what the reaction to this conversation will be. It'll be a classic negative reaction to one loss. and I think you'd agree with this, Puck. We all know we accept it's one game.
Yeah.
But
it's the only game you can react to. That's what I don't understand about sometimes the people. You react in this industry, you react to the game you just saw.
Yeah, and what we saw, there were some bad moments in that.
Yeah.
Now, if they fix all those moments next week, we'll go, yeah, well done. They fixed a lot of the issues from last week. If the offense is on fire next week, then we'll be going, oh, fantastic. Maybe it was just a one-off, like against the Niners. It was just a bad week one game. If they have another 200-yard game next week, can't run the ball, can't get the other receivers involved or the tight ends, Darnold doesn't look good, defense is clinging on again, trying to help them through it. We're going to be sat here in a week's time. A lot of people going, well, this isn't very good.
Yeah. Hey, last thing for you. You were in the stands. I was not, just watching on TV. What was it like inside the stands, Niner fans to Seahawks fans? Because on TV, it sounded very split, like there were a lot of San Francisco fans there.
So I can have the benefit of comparing it to the Thanksgiving game, which was the last game I was at. And there were considerably more Niners fans in the stadium in 2023 than there were for this game. So I think it was an improvement. I'd still think there was I'd say between 35 and 40% of the fans were Niners fans. There was a lot of Niners fans in Seattle the day before, and there was a lot of fans in the stadium. I personally thought it was very loud, especially early in the game, when I think Seahawks fans were kind of exhausted. It was an exhausting game to watch. So I think I think everyone was knackered by the end. But I think it was very loud early on. I personally thought that was good, but Robbie, who I streamed with, who I was there with, said he felt it was not as loud as the good old days. And maybe those days are gone. But I didn't have a problem with the noise, especially on those early drives. So, and I think if the offense had put some points on the board, I think people would have been more inclined to help the defense out. Sure. I think people were the defense was on the field for so long. The fans were then having to make noise for so long. I mean, it's 40 minutes. You can't sit there for 40 minutes screaming your head off. And that's what they were being asked to do because the defense was always on the bloody field.
All right, tell us what you got up on the website right now.
I am in the process of writing a piece about quarterbacks. Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, and my mind has gone completely blank about the other person I was
Sam Levitt.
No, it wasn't. It was
John Mateer.
It was John Mateer. That's it.
God, Johnny football.
Yeah.
Makes me cry.
That'll be up tomorrow, I think.
Don't like it. Watching him on the post game after the Michigan game talking. That's
sounding like an NFL quarterback as well, by the way.
That's my Johnny Mateer. That's my Johnny Mateer. All right, Rob. Rob joins us every week inside the bloody trenches with Rob Staton. Seahawks draft. I went into English.
Seahawks draft blog.
Draftblog.com. You can follow Rob on social media, Rob Staton. Check out his YouTube page, Rob Staton Football. He's great. He's got stuff up there all the time. And again, his weekly appearance brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Alpha, Rogers Pilsner, and their new tavern beer. Check out the tasting room and beer garden, open daily 10 to 8 p.m. Visit georgetownbeer.com. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Rob.
See you next week.
Rob Staton. Again, if you missed any of the Rob Staton segment with us, the podcast will be up later on all podcast platforms. And again, be sure to check out his blog, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Well, we've come to that moment. It's another day. And as we wrap up the show, we do it with Hey, What the Puck, which is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. They are locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property, 206-817-8917, or visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Well, a college football reporter has found themselves in hot water. AP voter Haley Sawyer covers the USC Trojans for SoCal News Group. And she has drawn the ire of many because in her latest AP poll, she voted Florida and she moved Florida up 2 spots in the latest Associated Press poll. She did so despite Florida losing to South Florida. She received, justifiably so, criticism for why she decided to move a team up 2 spots despite losing the game that they were supposed to win. Well, she received so much blowback, she felt the need to then go to social media. She's now blocked everyone. She's made her account private because I'm sure people were nasty to her, which is, again, not right. But she did not make it better by what she put out on social media explaining her rationale of why she moved Florida up 2 spots despite losing.
Here's what my votes are and what my process is. I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it.
There's just so much to unpack now. There's going to be some people that are going to take the sexism route to this one. We have to be able to live in a world where, as males, we can criticize females, females can criticize males. I am not criticizing her as a female reporter. I am criticizing her as an Associated Press reporter that has been given the responsibility to vote in the top 25 poll. Now, do a lot of voters look at it seriously and take into, and study all the games? Absolutely not. And there's plenty of AP reporters that have made mistakes in the past and probably not seen the game or moved somebody up when they thought somebody else won. My guess is that she thought Florida won. That's what I think happened. I think she thought Florida won the game, so she moved them up 2 spots. I think she skimmed it real quickly in the morning. And then once she realized that she made a mistake, this is where you hire Haley the Puckett crisis firm. You don't make that video. You come out and you admit, I screwed up. I thought Florida won the game. That's why I moved them up. It's my apologies. It is an honor and a responsibility to be an Associated Press reporter. And this past week, I failed at that. I regret what I did. I need to take my voting more seriously, and be more professional about it. And I will so in the future. My apologies to South Florida and Florida for my mistake. That's all you had to do. That is it. And problem solved. She made it 1,000 times worse. And she sounds ignorant. And she sounds like my high school kid. And it's not serious. And it doesn't really matter. And it's fun. What she did, my daughter wants to get into sports marketing in the industry. There is so many terrific female reporters out there. She's doing them an injustice of how that video comes across and that explanation comes across. And every Associated Press reporter out there, it's just again, people make mistakes. She made a mistake, and I'm convinced that she thought Florida won the game. But just come out and say that. Maybe it's embarrassing, but it certainly would have been a hell of a lot better than that explanation. Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to everyone watching and listening to today's show. As always, thank you to all our sponsors, Limback Lumber, a mention of Clean Streak, Brotherton Cadillac as well. Big thanks to those guys and the Angry Beaver, even though Jim Moore wasn't here, but they do support Jim Moore every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also, Chalet Bowl, Georgetown Brewery, Flat Stick Pub, and, of course, Restoration One. You can find today's Daily Puck Drop up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel when you're there. You can also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and everything at pucksports.com, including where you can sign up to become a Pucks Posse member. For just $5 a month, you support all the free content that we put out daily. In addition, bonus shows like today's baseball coverage with Ryan Divish, Thursday visits with KJ, with Mitch Levy, KJ Arns, our monthly visit with the Sports Pit, Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson. Every Monday, the Graz and Gas Take 5 podcast, which we now produce. Again, new episodes every single Monday. Find all of it up at pucksports.com. All right, that's it for us on a Wednesday. Thursday show, speaking of Mitch, KJ Arns. Mitch is back. We'll talk a little baseball with Brad Adam and NFL with Mike Garafolo. We will see you tomorrow at 10. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!